Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri 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 Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Hari Om to everybody.
Hari Om Swami. Hari Om Swami.
Hari Om, Hari Om.
Hari Om Swamiji. One Swami's photo fell down, he kept it.
Here.
It was on the grill, no? Grill. That two were there, one fell down. We kept it reclining on the wall.
No damage.
No damage. Only that iron thing has become thin.
Wind is also there along with.
It's raining heavily, Swamiji.
We are having very heavy rains.
Oh.
Let us see. Now there is no line. Let us see how it goes. So now we are on the
No, I put it on.
23rd chapter is over. 24, 25, 26, they deal with Himalayan journey. Himalayan journey. We can take up these three together. When we look at it, probably, can you hear?
That's Swamiji. That's Swami. You are able to hear.
Oh, I see not.
No current. You are able to hear.
Ram wanted to see whether Papa would attribute the strength to climb the mountains without fatigue or discomfort to Ram or his own strength and ability. We are looking at it like this. What is the test Ram meted out on Papa? From day to day, both Ram Kinkar and Ramdas walked on at high speed. Ramdas felt no fatigue, no pain, no discomfort of any kind. He was as fresh as ever. It was all due to Ram's grace, whose name was always on his lips. Everywhere he repeats the same thing only. So nothing is taken. Normally the sense of individuality unknowingly will arrogate that I have got the needed strength to bear everything. But here Papa remembers his grace at every step. No time he is allowing the sense of individuality to raise its head, though he is there as a separate individual. This is something very important for all of us to understand. During our deep sleep state, there is no sense of individuality. During our waking state, the sense of individuality is very much predominant. And it keeps on arrogating what all it had gone through, experienced, memorized. And then attribute everything to that sense of individuality alone. In the second chapter, Papa prayed, please remove the I-ness from me. It was a prayer from the bottom of the heart. Nobody told him to pray. It came by itself, and it was so intense. And the prayer was heard. So the I-ness has been completely erased. That is why, though functioning as an individual, he was able to attribute everything to Ram. Ram, the subtle and mysterious power. This has to be sustained, you know. When we hear this, we are all convinced. But the moment the session is over, the fellow will again come, you know, and take over, possess us. So the Ram has been testing. Unless the test is meted out, unless the quarterly exam or half-yearly exam or yearly exams are conducted, we will not know where we are. If we feel we are always led, guided by him, this sort of test should be there. So Papa here says, from day to day, both Ram Kinkar and Ramdas walked on at a high speed in Himalayas. Ramdas felt no fatigue, no pain, no discomfort of any kind. He was as fresh as ever. It was all due to Ram's grace, whose name was always on his lips. In Himalayas, during his travel, when he reached Rishikesh, Ram Kinkar took Ramdas into one of these huts. He has clearly brought out a word picture of what is inside. The interior of the hut was fitted with the simplest furniture, a bamboo cot, two posts of which formed the pillars of the hut, on which was spread a deer skin and a kambal or blanket lying in folds at the foot of it. A venerable old sannyasi was squatting upon the deer skin. On a peg was hanging his kamandal made of a black shell. Except a small piece of cloth and a spare cowpea in which were drying in the sun outside, he had no other clothing. On the sandy floor of the hut was a bamboo mat, and in a corner were there two black stones, one big and the other small, for crushing almonds and such other hard eatables having shells to break. There was a calm and peaceful look upon the countenance of the saint. He welcomed Ram Kinkar and Ramdas with a cheerful smile, and they seated themselves on the mat after prostrating at the feet of the Mahatmas. He offered some cardamoms to the guests and had a simple and childlike talk with them about saints who would be found in the thick forest on the opposite banks of Ganges, unexplored by ordinary man, where for a number of years they might be performing tapasya. His beautiful advice to Ramdas was to remain as long as possible for his sadhana in solitude, than which there is no better means for control of the mind. He was kind, affable, engaging, and good. O Ram, it was thyself in all thy glory that Ramdas met under that simple roof. One thing more, the saint was very fond of birds. He would not miss to share his food with them every day. They would wait for their share on the trees outside the hut. He talked very lovingly of them. After coming out, Ram Kinkar and Ramdas wandered on the banks of Mother Ganga, where they saw a number of sannyasis clad in orange robes, their faces beaming with a cheerful light. They had all come out for their usual morning bath in the holy waters. Ramdas, during his stay in Rishikesh, had occupied the mud platform around a banyan tree on the bank of the river close to the hut of Mahatma. This saint was also very kind to Ramdas. His hobby was to feed cows and monkeys, who would always be crowding around his hut. In order to feed them, he would go a-begging in the bazaar and secure footsteps and grass. He was finding a peculiar pleasure in childishly dancing with monkeys, running after them, making strange noises, all in glee and sport. His face was bright, and his greenish eyes would twinkle always with a watery tenderness. Under the same tree there was also a blind sadhu who had a good voice, which he made right use of singing the glory of Ram. So here the first sadhu, what he says is something for a... What did he say?
Solitude.
What did he say?
Spend more time in sadhana.
Spend more time in sadhana, and for that?
Solitude.
Solitude, that is important. Something for all of us to remember. We may not be able to follow in the same line as they were doing it, but in our own way also we can make, and we should. As long as possible for his sadhana in solitude, than which there is no better means of control of the mind. Here again, Papa is not treating it as a suggestion or an advice from a saint. He is treating, O Ram, it was thyself in all thy glory. This is something called constant God remembrance, Though there are happenings outside, varied happenings, still everything is attributed to him only, to him only, to him only. This is probably one purpose for which he motivated us to have this sannyas saptaka. Normally, suppose we were in that position, we would appreciate the sadhu, no doubt. We will revere him, we respect him, bas. And when we come out, we will share this with everybody. I met a Swami who inspired, whose very presence was inspiring, this and that. We will be 100% sincere also while expressing it. But we miss the real benefit. What is the real benefit? God facilitated. He motivated us to go to that particular cave or particular place. He motivated us to have his darshan. This is something very, very important. Every chapter reminds us of Papa's ceaseless remembrance of him. And he also makes one more mention about Kali Kambliwala. Anakshatras, just imagine on those days when Himalayas was totally inaccessible and were real, honest, sincere, intent. Spiritual aspirants were going for intense spiritual practice. Somebody, God prompted, who in the form of Kali Kambliwala, to open up anakshatras, where simple food will be given to all the aspirants, all the yatris. Even today it is functioning. Though there are a number of ashrams now offering bhandaras and so many things, Papa's words. There were 2 big anakshatras in Rishikesh, which daily furnish food to all the sannyasis. Of these kshetras, one was started by a great Mahatma by name Kali Kambliwala, who is now in Mahasamadhi. On these mountains and among sadhus, his blessed name is on the lips of all. With his influence, he has induced the wealthy merchants of Bombay and other places to open at every 10 to 15 miles on the hills a dharmshala in which sadavat or foodstuffs were distributed free to all. Sadhu pilgrims who hold chits with which they are provided at Rishikesh. Ramkinkar secured these chits for Ramdas at Rishikesh. So when he prompts people to take to leaving everything, not thinking about the morrow, as to where they will stay, how will they will get the food. God provided them. Today, number of hotels are there. Probably hotels are more than ashrams now, because it has become a tourist center. Haridwar, Rishikesh, everywhere, tourist center. Of course, God has got his own plans to draw everybody there, probably as a first step as a tourist. There must be some purpose behind it. There must be some purpose behind it.
Swamiji, in this chapter, in the beginning, Papa says there are green and yellow foliages, blossoms, and then there are rocks also. So God is manifest in the form of trees and rocks also and mountains also. One of the manifestations, we should not neglect thinking that they are inanimate things. They are also manifest forms of God.
The scenes on the banks of the holy Ganges are simply charming. Here the lofty peaks of mountains are dimly visible, covered with white mist, kissing as they do the rolling waves of clouds that hang above them. A nearer gaze presents to the eye high gigantic rocks with dense forests, a mixture of green, yellow and red hues of leaves, foliage and blossoms. A still nearer view shows the crystal water of the holy Ganga that flows in all calmness and majesty, disclosing in her bosom huge pieces of rocks which her rushing torrent had pulled down in days of yore and made round the smooth overarm thou art sublime. Constant remembrance, Anything else? The next also begins with this beautiful narration about Mother Nature. No? On the fourth day, they started on their journey higher on the hills. As they climbed higher and higher, the scenes and landscapes they saw were found to be simply enchanting. On the right, the sacred Ganga was rushing downhill in all her glory, and on the left, high rocky hills full of foliage and trees presented at once a thrilling and absorbing sight. The very air there was charged with the divine presence of Ram. See, everywhere.
Also that the saints were also feeding monkeys and other birds and other
birds and monkeys.
Yes, so it is important to feed them also.
Everywhere the divine presence of Ram is felt, The far-off hills and valleys, the varied-hued sky in which the white fleecy clouds assumed fantastic shapes, the snow-capped mountains, hundreds of miles away up, dazzling in the rays of the sun, as though they were covered with sheets of silver. All these constituted indeed an imposing sight. Oh, the charm of the scenes, O Ram! Poor Ramdas cannot find adequate words to describe the grandeur, the beauty, the wonderful glory of the sights that met his bewildered gaze. Everywhere Ram is there in the picture. That is the message. Animate all the inanimate things. O Ram, thy kindness to thy slave is really unbounded. From day to day, both Ramkinkar and Ramdas walked on at a high speed. Ramdas felt no fatigue, no pain, no discomfort of any kind. He was as fresh as ever. It was all due to Ram's grace, whose name was always on his lips. Thus mountain after mountain was traversed, and as they climbed on, grander and newer scenes presented themselves, exhibits his marvelous powers. He is a mighty conjurer, magician. Vision after vision dances and flits before your eyes, and unconsciously you fall under the subtle charm and spell of this great magician. You forget what you are and where you are. You are simply absorbed and lost in the surroundings, like a wisp of smoke in a hurricane. Ram is a magician. And he also explains about the style of living of the villagers. Ram wanted, whether he observes them They too are the forms of him. Nobody is irrelevant, nobody is unimportant, nobody is insignificant. In order to teach, that hard work, simplicity and humility can be practiced by ordinary villagers in the midst of their struggle for existence, Ram made him observe them. Happenings are based on Ram's will. However, we can pray. Because you remember that girl of 16. When Papa thought nobody can save her. And he, from the bottom of the heart, he sent out a prayer. What was that prayer? O Ram, how terrible a condition. Ram, thy name be glorified. Ramdas looks and sees the girl falling on the path right across, utting Ram Ram. Saved. Saved. Ram saved her. She got up, did not wait a minute, but continued her walk further down. Dauntless girl, what a marvelous faith in Ram is thine. Though everything is actuated by his will and happening by his will and happens by his power, Ram wanted to see whether Papa would see his power of protection in the incident and also the simple faith of the girl. Ram made Ramdas witness a girl being saved from death, and on the other hand, observing the elderly lady being denied of reaching the temple. By this he was teaching Ramdas that there cannot be any uniformity in the world, that everything is happening by his will alone. One lady was being taken, no? Old lady. The other was the case of an old woman who gave up her body in the basket in which she was being carried by a sturdy mountaineer who was specially engaged for this purpose. At certain stages in the journey, this carrier would lower down his burden for relief, and the last time he did so, it happened to be near the place where Ramkinkar and Ramdas was resting on the roadside. The bearer, as usual with him, lowered the basket on a rock, asked the old mother to step out of this basket for some time, but receiving no reply, the hillman peeped into the basket, and a cry of surprise and pain started from him. The poor woman is gone. O Ram, thy will be done. So both Ram made him to witness. And there cannot be uniformity in the world. And that everything is happening by his will alone. So prayer is our privilege. We cannot even take it as granted. So many lessons, you know.
Swamiji, the company of the saints is a much needed bath to the mind.
Provided we have a receptive mind. Otherwise, if we treat him as an individual, we will not be able to derive. Because the company of a great soul, when we relate ourselves to him, when we connect ourselves to him, we can get the benefit. To others, he is an ordinary person, that's all. By itself, no. Even today when you go there, you will find that. You may not know who he is. If you really go in search of a spiritually evolved soul, then you may be able to see. But if you are only seeing, sightseeing or just going, there may be many Mahatmas who may not attract your attention. So what is required is that proper mental background. When the mind gets more and more purified, we will be able to relate ourselves with all such people. That is why when narration is going on, Papa doesn't leave anything, So by this he is teaching us, not directly, indirectly, that if you are in a position to keep up constant remembrance, that is the shield, that protects you from the mind going out, from the mind to observe what is to be observed, to identify what is to be identified. Constant remembrance, constant remembrance, constant remembrance. Now then from there we go to the next Kedarnath. Now Papa tested Ram. So far Ram has been testing, This is a beautiful relationship. So far Ram has been testing. Here now Papa is testing Ram. Where does he write that?
Swamiji, Papa gives a cry of Priyam. Is that because he has understood the help to climb that steep climb with the help of the divine power?
Because of his constant remembrance,
But descent was perilous. Ascension was good, but descent was most perilous.
somewhere he says, Ram the test.
Himalayan journey 3, I think.
Where?
First paragraph, rough grass, holding the rough grass that grew on the hill.
Where is he says,
That line I am also not seeing.
I have seen. He will say, now let me see how you are going to save.
I think that is in the vision of God.
No. Oh, it is there, it's there.
Here it is. An unguarded step or a slight slip meant a headlong fall and certain destruction of the body. 99 pages.
No, that is the. Here it says.
The test word.
Test word. Now let Ramdas know how you are going to do it. Steep rock. Anyhow, let us see. Ram was testing him to see whether he was aware of the bounteous gifts of nature, along with being filled with intense God remembrance also. That which is charming externally also has a danger within it. It is not only applicable to the Himalayas, but also to everything that a sadhaka comes across. Another hidden point there. It is so charming, dangerous, So that which is charming externally also has a danger within it. It is not only applicable to the Himalayas, but also to everything that a sadhaka comes across. Why has Papa narrated at great length? Ram wanted to see whether Ramdas would see not only the beauty, but also be aware of the danger. So one needs to be alert. To approach truth, we have to be truthful. And when he went to Badrinath, that is very clear. Pretend that you are sick. Never. He does not want the darshan of Badrinath by telling a lie. It is against the command of Ram. So everywhere he is put on test. And everywhere he passes. Ram was uniformly kind to him in all his travels, because he had started on his travels at the bidding of Ram alone. That word, Not that I have planned. That is why even on the first page he will say, in quest of God, in the first article, Ram, you will see, it was about 2 years ago that Ram first kindled in the heart of his humble slave Ramdas a keen desire to realize his infinite love. So the grace is there in the beginning itself. He was always aware of the grace. Ram was uniformly kind to him in all his travels because he had started on his travels at the bidding of Ram alone. So from there they proceeded to Mathura. Mathura, Gokul and Vrindavan. That will take it up tomorrow. So now we are not going by, we don't want to see that chapters are covered. We want to keep on reminding us that what is required is constant God remembrance.
Swamiji, please repeat what you said about the dangers that are lying in their attractive.
Danger that lies in attractive things.
Danger. That which is charming extremely, externally, that which is charming externally also has danger within it. It is not only applicable to the Himalayas, but also everything that a sadhaka comes across. Probably the Parivrataka life itself is prescribed to get oneself trained in this. He will be alert. He will always be thinking about the goal to be scaled. Perseverance will be there. Patience will be there. So many advantages. And suppose we have this avalambam, the support, that God has prompted me, God is taking through me, and in God only I am walking. That is the highest stage.
Swamiji, at Alaknanda, Papa used to go through snow. At 3 or 4 places, the pilgrims had to cross with tracks of snow. He travelled over them with naked feet. Possible?
Yes.
Over the ice-bound caves, hills.
Terrible.
Glaciers.
Because that's what he says, everywhere he was able to do that, and he says that is because Ram was uniformly kind to him in all these travels.
Chill.
After several days of walk, they came to a place called Ramnagar. Saying this after the Badrinath, then he says, "O Ram, thou art testing thy slave in various ways." Remaining in Badrinath for a day, the sadhus started on their return journey. So the testing, that's also a wonderful point, Anything that is happening to us is a test meted out by him to us for our own good. We would like to, all of us would like to keep up this, but we forget. He did not forget because chanting with this bhavana was there going on. We may be chanting, but bhavana is not there. We may not be chanting throughout also. Chanting with bhavana.
Individual or chorus? Individual or chorus?
Individual. Collective sadhana should help us to progress in individual sadhana. Ultimately, it should zero to individual sadhana only. Hari Om. We don't make use of that facility in ashram.
Yes.
Only we attend to all these collective programs. Very rarely people come with that idea. We provide them. They would like to say, we would like to spend on Maun. Then we provide them solitude for them, excepting for food. They may not go out at all. Such facilities, so ashram provides all facilities. It is for us to make use of it. We always depend upon external factors. That is one of the very powerful suggestion Papa gives. Rely on the inner guru, not on external. Every time he consults, he acknowledges the inner guru only.
The inner guru is conscience.
Inner guru and God are same. Ram is the guru, Ram is the truth. He's having a dialogue with him. Papa bluntly says, Ramdas never joined any organization. Nor he was seeking any advice from anybody else. If it comes by itself, he used to hear. When Ramkinkar took him to various Swamis, he acknowledged and he was able to derive the fullest benefit. Even Ramana Maharshi, that Sadhuram took him there. If you observe all these things, you will find Papa by himself is not motivated to do or go anything, because he is always led, guided by Ram. In the second chapter, it is made clear. Second chapter, it is made clear. Now, from the narrow pond of a worldly life, Ram lifted up his slave to throw him to the extensive ocean of a universal life. But to swim in the wide ocean, Ram knew Ramdas wanted strength and courage, for gaining which Ram intended to make his ignorant and untrained slave to pass through a course of severe discipline, and this under his direct guidance and support. No intermediary. Under his direct guidance and support. So somehow right from the beginning he was able to connect himself and feel that Ram is guiding him, leading him. So he felt no need to seek it from outside at all. A very important point. And this is the outcome of inward journey only. Second chapter, beginning, first para. Now from the narrow pond of a worldly life, Ram had lifted up his slave to throw him into the extensive ocean of universal life. But to swim in the wide ocean, for Ram knew Ramdas wanted strength and courage, for gaining which Ram intended to make his ignorant and untrained slave to pass through a course of severe discipline, and this under his direct guidance and support. His direct guidance and support, that is why he could say later that God does not need any intermediary. He was the recipient, so he can authoritatively say. Every moment he was able to feel his guidance, support. So he says, why switch on your wire for direct communication? Why do you deny him in your heart? So he was not at all relying on any type of external support. Relying purely on him down.
Swamiji, Pranam Swamiji, I think that we need external support because we don't understand that when something comes to our mind, it is our mind playing or Papa's voice.
Pardon?
When some command comes from inside, we don't understand that whether it is our mind playing or Papa's voice. It is not very clear for us.
It will become correct. It will become clear.
That is why we need external help, support from the wiser one.
Initially, because we are not full-timers, we have to devise some other method. In Papa's case, he was a full-timer. So he had a lot of time to commune with the indwelling reality, establish a relationship, and so he was always feeling the constant fellowship of him. In our case, whenever we deal with men and matters, whenever we involve ourselves in various activities, we don't bring him into the picture at all. Only when during Satsang, when we go to Puja room, when we go to temple, this thing happens. Otherwise, in a day, nothing happens. Only me is there. So we need, that is why we crave for external support. But when we are blessed with that external support, if we try to understand the words of the external support, then it is all right. Now when we approach Papa drew us. Papa drew us from different places, from different situations. But then we still did not develop a close relationship with him. Whatever relationship we had, it was superficial. We did not feel. We will feel it only when we start communing with him, talking with him. Because the moment the dialogue starts, the first palpable gain is that you recognize that he is within. When he is within, why should we seek it outside? So we have been looking at Papa's photo. We have been repeating the word Papa 100 times. But we never tried to feel him inside.
Yes, Swami.
Papa himself has clearly mentioned in God experience. When the Madras devotee was justifying that why he placed Papa Mataji's photos for the weekly or fortnightly bhajan, and when somebody said, if you put only some God's name or a God's picture, I will do the bhajan. And so to him, he did not see Papa Mataji as a form of God. So he commented that people see God only in pictures. Immediately Papa said, what did you do? You also did the same mistake. You put Papa Mataji's photo there. Whereas Papa Mataji is everywhere. God is everywhere. You are everywhere. The three words, immediately we remove the physical form of Papa Mataji. Then we find the indwelling reality, the mysterious power in Papa and Mataji. God, who is the mysterious power, in us the mysterious power. So he says, Papa Mataji is everywhere. God is everywhere. You are everywhere. But so we did not understand all this. we still looked up to him. When he said there is no need for an intermediary, then also we did not understand. Of course, we need somebody to tell that there is no need for an intermediary. We need an intermediary to tell us that we don't need an intermediary. Okay. But after that, did we do the needed pondering, going deep within to locate this subtle and mysterious power? We must spend some time exclusively. Every day we must spend some time to connect ourselves with him.
Swamiji, then is this the darshan? This is darshan?
Darshan.
Darshan. So along with our Nama chanting or any discipline, along with our, friendly and friendly attitude toward the rest of the creation, we must also develop this inner dialogue every day with him, even if it is for 1 minute, 2 minutes. When we go for flower offering, there must be a dialogue so that it will not become a mechanical offering. You are within me to make me know that you came in the form of Papa, and then you are now making me to offer this as a symbol of my respect, my gratitude to you for having shown your existence in me. Every day, suppose we do that, Slowly our mind will start accepting he is within me, he is within me, he is within me. And he is guiding me, he is guiding me. We may fail, we may forget, don't worry about it. We have never learned anything in one go. So many times we have slipped, we have failed. But with perseverance, we stood with it, and then finally God made us to master it. So similarly, in this also we will see that. Even if it's for 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, worth it. Because throughout in quest of God, we find that, the dialogue. In how many places he has, not in one or two, in every chapter, twice or thrice he will say, "Oh Ram." When he says, "Oh Ram," he is feeling the indwelling as well as the all-pervading. Because he himself has clarified it. Before the advent of the mendicant, by Ram's grace, Ram got stabilized. So this is an important message for all of us. For constant remembrance, we are chanting Ram Nam. For constant remembrance, we are taking to inward journey. All these things should ultimately, and individually we should do it. We are only doing it collectively. We may be, suppose when you give the count of Ram Nam, agreed, you may be doing it individually also. But whether this dimension has taken place, only that person will know. I am chanting the name of one who is seated within me, who is making me to chant. To affirm that he is within, he is within, he is within. And he is the subtle and mysterious power that makes my sense of individuality, a sense of individuality. Because when he is away, I am nowhere. So when we chant, Papa is asking us to include these two. I am chanting the name of one who is seated within me, who is making me to chant. If he is making me to chant, naturally he is making me to think. Naturally he is making me to talk. Naturally he is making me to do everything. So by inserting these two clauses, Papa is trying to make us know that this is one of the ways by which you know that he is within, he is within, he is within. And then to develop a dialogue so that the constancy is maintained. When we were covering these 3 chapters of Himalayan journey travel, we found not only to individuals, so many dimensions have come out of it. All that is unmoving. Even there also he was able to see not the mountain as a mountain, cloud as a cloud, air as an air, stream as a stream. He was able to see something more. Play of Ram, play of Ram, play of Ram. Ram Kinkar would not have been able to do it. Though the same objects were there. Ram Kinkar was satisfied by serving Papa. So we will go through again and again and again. We have got 7 more months. How many months? 6 months more.
7 months.
We will try to dig out what has not been explored. June, July, August, September, October, November, December. 7th is, so December 25th to 31st. That is the Koti Kalasham, that means the final. So before that, even in the month of December, we have got opportunities. We pray to Ram who is seated within. Make us to go within before the dead, what is the date? And then just reveal yourself to me. I have been trying in so many ways. Reading your book again and again and again. Hearing about the various dimensions again and again and again. Traveling with him mentally again and again. But still, probably, I would not have understood, I would not have felt the presence of you. But please, don't do that. Before 25th, when we start the Akhanda Ramnam, you must reveal your presence in us in whatever way you decide. This sort of one, demand. We have got every right to demand. We are his children. We will do whatever is possible. But ultimately, if you don't do it, our efforts will not be fruitful. So, before 25th December, you must somehow open up.
We will do it. Yes.
Hari Om. Hari Om.
Terminal exam over.
Terminal exam.
Swamiji,
This
in prayer, God of gods, what is one God only is there, no? God of gods means what is it, Swamiji? God of gods means so many gods are there.
when
God of gods.
all the 33 Devas,
Oh.
They are all called gods. But when we say here God, the only one and only.
The mysterious power is only one, you know.
Only
Mysterious
one.
power.
The only God. It comes in different shapes, and we used to say Devadi Deva, you know. Deva, 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 Devi, Deva, all those things we will say. So it is in English.
There is only one, you know.
In English, there is only one word, God.
God of gods, like that. Yes.
No. That is, God of gods means God, the power behind all creation. Power is God of gods. God stands for all the creation.
That's it.
So this 25th December, please don't. Every day you keep on reminding him, so that he may allow us to, he may test us to forget. You should reveal that. And we tell him, you must also make us to not to forget. We are likely to forget.
Swamiji, Swamiji has been to Badrinath, Kedarnath and ISRO.
I have not gone to Kedarnath and Badrinath. We have gone to various other parts of Himalayas.
But God has given me the chance when I was young with my father. I went there.
Oh.
I am just remembering all those things. What Prabhupada meant there. So chill how he has gone with the bare feet on Alakananda river. Can't be born in mind. Hari Om Swami.
Hari Om. So once more we remind about 25th December. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om.
Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om
Jai Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai
Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om
Swami, pranam.
Hari Om Hari Om
Namaskar.